Welcome back. We're talking about how to use AI to find and get a job, right? You're in the job market, you're looking for a job, and you want to use AI to make sure that you've got the best possible advantage in that process. In this video, we're talking about how to get the best possible application in. In the previous video, we talked about how to find the right job, and go and watch that video if you haven't. But now we're going to talk about you've identified a job that you would like to apply for, and you want to make sure that you get orientated to the role, so you really understand the terms of reference of the job, the organization to which you're applying, and off the back of that, you redraft and you use AI to help you redraft your CV and make sure that your CV or your resume is absolutely correct for the particular job that you're applying for. Similarly, a good cover letter. And then I'm going to show you all of these prompts that will do a check of your entire application, including any kind of written things that you have to submit, etc., etc. And it'll do it from the perspective of the hiring manager for that job. And it'll give you really good feedback as to whether or not you've missed anything or there's any weaknesses or anything you need to address to make sure that you submit a better application. And then I've also got a system where you can track all the applications that you're making and make sure that you're on top of everything. Okay, what you're seeing on the screen at the moment is a cheat sheet, and this has all of the appropriate prompts, right? So if I click on getting orientated to the role, it's going to take you to a prompt right here. You basically copy that prompt and you paste it into whatever language model you use. I use Claude. I've checked these prompts in Gemini and ChatGPT. They work everywhere. My favorite is Claude. I think it does the best job of this, by the way, but that's up to you. And you literally just come across and you cut and paste it in. And it's literally as easy as that. At the end of the video, I'm going to talk you through how it is that you can access this cheat sheet at home so you can copy and paste all of these prompts. Now, it's important that when you do this, you work inside the context of a project, right? So I'm in Claude at the moment. I've created a project, and when you work inside a project, everything that you do kind of gets included. If you upload your CV, upload the terms of reference of a job, you create something with your prompts that all gets included in the project and creates context, right? So that when we, at the end of this process, when we're at the stage where we're getting the language model to do a practice interview for the job where we've been invited to an interview, it is asking you questions based on the profile that's created of you, based on your CV, based on the terms of reference of the job, based on all of the bits and pieces that we've created in this pipeline. Right, so stick with me. Let's do this. Boom shakalaka. And so just that you know, in the video after this, we're going to be talking about interview prep, right? You're going to use a language model to create a dossier of the organization and the job and do a mock voice interview with you to practice, and practice. Okay. Super duper. Let's jump right into talking about getting the perfect application in. Okay, so this first prompt is you've now uploaded the terms of reference of this particular job you've identified, and you've given any additional information to Claude or whatever language model you're using about the job. Claude already has your CV. It already has your profile following an interview that it's done with you to better understand your preferences, strengths, and weaknesses, and that's all in the first video that we've done. It now looks at all of that, looks at the job, looks at you, and does an assessment as to whether or not you would be a really good fit for this job. And it could be that you are a good fit, but the information that you provided for it has got some gaps. And so you might find that Claude or ChatGPT says to you, look, you're a good candidate, except this particular job they are really looking for somebody that has skills in this particular area. Do you have any experience that maps out against that? Because it might be the case that you do and you just haven't included it in your CV, for example. So it's going to give you a real good sanity check as to whether or not you are ready to apply for this job. Let me show you. I've cut and pasted this prompt in, and I've done a kind of a fictitious search for a job in the sense, I'm not really looking for a job at the moment, but I'm pretending to, so that I can show you how the system works. So when I come into Claude and I've uploaded the terms of reference of a particular job that I may be interested in, I cut and paste the prompt. So I've gone here, I've said copy, I've gone into Claude, I go here, I say paste, it copies it in, and I push go. And boom shakalaka, this is what it produces, right? So in this particular case, I've sort of said I'm interested in this job on tobacco control in Africa. I've got a bit of a background in global health, so this could be a good fit for somebody like me. And it's produced basically what's called a markdown file that just gives you a brief. You could say to it, please produce this as a Word document. I get that. I'm happy with a markdown file like this because I just want to read it off the screen. But it goes through the application, basically this comparison between me and the terms of reference of the job and the organization itself that I'm applying for. It talks about the application mechanics, like what you need to do, why you might be a strong candidate. So it goes through things that I've done that might make me a good candidate. But then here, importantly, where you're exposed, like where are the gaps in my CV and what is required for in this job. And it gives you quite an honest assessment. Like, this is what's missing. This is why you might, there might be something that you need to kind of give it more information about. And then a little bit about the organization. But here's what's important. At the end, it gives you a recommendation. And I think that this is probably the best thing about this prompt, is it just tells you, look, do you want to carry on with this, or do you want to find a different potential job for you to have a look at? And here it says, apply only if you can provide evidence of one US work authorization. So in my case, no. And substantive tobacco control or non-communicable disease experience beyond what I've done at the World Cancer Research Fund. Okay, so for the sake of this illustration, this demonstration, I'm going to kind of assume that I can kind of tick those boxes and we'll just carry on. But you can see how this is a tremendously useful way to get a sense of, is this a good job for me to apply for? Or if it is, what are the things I need to tighten up on and make sure that I can really address, because I don't want to drop the ball in this application. The next two sections are basically, you want to get your CV. Let's assume I'm going to make an application to this job, right? Which I'm not. This is all just illustrative, but let's assume that it was. And if, the people that I work with at the moment in the health service executive are watching this, believe me, I'm not leaving. I'm very happy where I am at the moment. I'm not applying for this job. It's all just to illustrate. But the next thing we would do is we'd want to get our CV tailored for this particular job. We want your CV to highlight the things that have been identified as important by this organization and by the terms of reference of the particular job you're applying for. Right. So you cut and paste this prompt in the project that you're working at. You've already uploaded your CV, right? Where's my CV? It's here somewhere. There's my CV, right? That's uploaded. So I just paste the prompt in there, and it will, and I say go, and it's going to produce my CV, but in a format, in a way that is more appropriate for this particular job. And here you go. It's done just that. Here's my CV. And look, I've asked it to put this into an HTML format just so that I can show it on the screen at the moment. Really what it would do in reality is it would produce a Word document, and that Word document is something you could edit and add things to, and et cetera, et cetera. This is literally just for illustrative purposes, but you can see what it is that I'm trying to do here. And the exact same process applies to the cover letter. I go here, co-draft a cover letter, right? So when I cut and paste this prompt into Claude, what's going to happen is it's going to ask me some questions like, why is it that you're passionate about this particular job? And when it's gotten that information from me, it's going to draft a version of a cover letter that I can then edit and get ready. But it'll be good, and it'll take into account what is being asked for in this particular job and the background that it knows about me from my CV and the profile that it has of me. And here you can see it's produced a sort of first version of a cover letter. You can take that and you can edit it. I think the point of these things is that they very often just produce a first version, and you need to then take a closer look and decide exactly what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep. But it's usually good. It's usually pretty good. The next prompt, and this is maybe one of the most useful ones, and this is to get a hiring manager's critical pass. So the language model pretends to be the hiring manager. It has seen the terms of reference of the job. It has read all about the organization itself and their objectives, etc., etc. It's looked at your CV and your profile, and it really does a critical pass as to whether or not what you've submitted at this point in time is sufficient for you to be a strong candidate. You need to know that so that you're not wasting your time, you're not wasting their time. And in this particular example, I've copied across this prompt that's here, and you can just push copy there and taken it into Claude. I've pasted it in there. I won't do it again. I've just pasted it in there 2 minutes ago. And when you run this, it's quite interesting because you go down, okay, and here it starts. Essentials, not met or not met, and it goes through the essential criteria for this job and gives you an evaluation as to whether or not you meet them. And in my case, there's all sorts of things where it sort of says, look, you don't meet the bar here, you don't meet the bar there. Skills, essentials, bada bing, bada boom. First impressions, it's leaning no here. It's kind of saying to me, look, you know, from what I know about you, you're not a great candidate for this job. And it goes through the issues systematically. Here's a big table. Here's the issue. This is why it matters. How to fix it. Whether that's a high priority or not. Goes through all the issues. Boom shakalaka. Consistency check. Fair enough. Strong fixes. Priority fixes. excellent verdict. And it's basically saying, look, as your CV stands at the moment, you're probably not a good candidate for this particular job. Now, some of the time you haven't provided it with information that actually could fix the things that it's saying are missing, which is great. You know to include them in your CV. You need to make those changes, and you may well still be a good candidate. But this is a huge time saver. You don't want to be applying for jobs for which you're not a good candidate. You want to, you know what I mean, because it just takes up a lot of time and energy to do that. Go for the jobs for which you've got the best possible chance. And the final prompt I want to show you in this particular lesson is submit a track and organize. Right, so you're not going to just apply for one job. You might, but there's nothing wrong with that. But you may, if you're really on the search for jobs, you might be applying for a number of jobs, and they may be at different stages of that application process at different points in time, and you want to track that and get a sense of which jobs you're still going to apply for, etc., etc. This prompt over here, if you cut and paste it in, it is going to produce an output kind of like this. And I've actually changed the prompt slightly since the version what you're looking at the moment. Now the prompt will give you an Excel spreadsheet, because that's something you can save to your hard drive, and as you make updates, you can always access that easily. But this sort of illustrates what it is that it'll do. So it keeps a track of all the organizations and the jobs that you're interested in, and then you can say where you are in a stage. I'm about to apply for that one. I've submitted against that, and then you can, there's priorities, there's the link to the vacancy, etc., etc., and you can keep a track of what you've applied for, what you want to apply for, etc., etc. Do it in a spreadsheet. It's an easy thing for you to just do on your own. This creates a little bit of structure around that, though. Now, the next video, and this is the one that you're really going to love, is all about getting ready for the interview. Let's assume that you've been asked to come in for an interview. You really want to spend a lot of time and trouble getting ready for that interview. And I've got the most beautiful, perfect prompts that it's just going to make the world of difference in terms of your interview prep. So definitely watch the next video. Thanks for watching this channel. Subscribe if you haven't before. There's going to be a link on the screen at the moment that'll take you to a place where you can get this whole cheat sheet with all the prompts, etc., etc. Don't ever change, don't do drugs, always do your best. Boom shakalaka.